Cuffed in the room with the two-way glass, the text in effect, cold dog in my ass. What's your date of birth? What's your real name? I stuck to my alias. I know the game. If they don't know who you are, then they don't know what you've done. You're only making this hard on yourself, son. I know this shit by heart. I'm too clever. Have you ever been arrested before? Nope, never.
Yeah.
Whoop whoop. Wee.
All right, guys, well, good talk.
Okay, all right, welcome. Welcome to the first Boone Avenue Walls Festival, Art Festival, Artist Talk. And I'm Kurt Boone. And first we're gonna start it off with our presenting sponsor, the Bronx Historical Society, Dr. Stephen Payne. He's going to say a few words, and then Wayne's going to say a few words. And of course, we want to thank Inspiration Point Daniel, who's sitting over there. He's hosting this event, this beautiful complex here in the Bronx. So, Dr. Stephen Payne, please come up and say a few words.
What's up, everyone? Good to see you all here tonight. Thank you for coming out. And like Kurt said, happy to welcome you to the first in a series of panel discussions leading up to the Boone Avenue Walls Festival in August. Hope that many of you all here will be participating in it. If you're not painting in it, then come out and check it out. As Kurt said, my name's Stephen Payne. I'm the director of the Bronx County Historical Society. And I think it was back in 2021. Kurt and I were talking, and I just started at the place in 2020, and we're recording a lot of oral histories, just with community members around a bunch of different things, community activism, the takeover of Lincoln Hospital, like a lot of different things. And Kurt said, "Why don't you wanna record some oral histories around graffiti?" I said, "Hell yeah, let's make it happen." I wasn't the director at the time, so I thought it might be a little bit of a hard sell to the old guard. I'm gonna do an oral history project around graffiti. It's a little bit of a hard sell, but we kind of rammed it through. Kurt helped us line up some funding to get it started, so that always helps. And I never would have imagined, from then until now that we've recorded about, I think, 21, 22 oral histories, mostly with pioneer and golden era writers, from the late 60s up until like the early 80s, primarily around the Bronx. The Bronx Aerosol Arts Documentary Project is what it's called. Each of the oral histories are around an hour and a half or two, some up to 3 hours even. So check it out. We're still recording them too, just kind of sporadically at the moment, but we're gonna hit it hard, hopefully some point again soon. There's still plenty of writers out there that we wanna record, make sure their stories are preserved. Not just photographs of the pieces, which are awesome to see, but the childhood struggles, childhood like joys, all of that, up until when they started writing, all of that, how they got into writing, how they got into the yards, all of those stories we want to make sure to preserve. So yeah, and then when Kurt and WEN and I got together, I'd heard about the Boone Avenue Walls Festival. It had already been going on for a number of years already, but happy to be a lot more involved in that, and thrilled to be the sponsor for this series of panel discussions. So I'm going to shut up now, but come talk to me afterwards if you want to know about any other events we're doing. We have 2 more panel discussions here in August related to Graph. There's another one related to hardcore and punk music from the Bronx in later July. So if that interests you, come and talk to me too. And without further ado, let me call up WEN from the Boone Avenue Walls. WEN, come up here.
Woo! Yo.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for coming. Again, Boone Avenue Walls, August 23, August 24, 2025. We're going to have over 200 artists painting in 4 locations throughout the Bronx: Mott Haven, West Farms, Foxhurst, which is Whitlock Avenue area, believe it or not, and Hunts Point, our newest location, will actually be right across the street. We'll also be setting up some art cubes, so perhaps children in the neighborhood will actually, for the first time, get involved in painting. So we're doing a series of art talks. Essentially, it's just to bring people together, outreach for the festival itself, and just to see everybody's faces and doing what we do here in the Bronx and bringing attention and momentum to our movement. I want to thank Daniel from Inspiration Point for this wonderful facility and everything that he offers the community and everything he's doing for our culture. I want to thank Stephen from Bronx Historical Society for partnering with us and making things happen. Kurt Boone is a visionary. He's putting out books. He's documenting the culture, and it's important that we do that for ourselves, because if we don't, they're really not going to do it for us. And last but not least, El Souls, Claude, TKid, in all respects, each one of them a hero of mine in one way or another. It's all, you know, TKid I've been admiring since the 80s. I think it was the TKid Duster car that just blew me away. And I knew that that's what I kind of wanted to do. When I was wondering what I'm going to do with graffiti, am I going to be a bomber, am I just tagging, simple style? I saw the burner, I said, I'm going to burn. And Claude, through association, has been a good friend of mine for over 30 years. And, you know, I've always been a fan of what she does and how she does it, and the plateau she's reached. And El Souls himself is the youngest of the trio there, but has rapidly ascended in the ranks of graffiti, and he's traveling around the world, I'm proud to say, doing letters, murals. He's kind of got the whole package. It encompasses what a young kid, a young person is today. And so I think the title of this is Generations.
That's right.
Yes. So we thought this would be a good coverage of from beginning to now, and everyone here is still rocking and concurrent. And so without further ado, Mr. Kurt Boone, take it away.
Oh, thank you so much, Win. I appreciate the opportunity, and you know, I'm gonna just say a little shameless plug. I ran up to Win on the street. He didn't know me from Adam. And I said, oh, yo, what's this festival you got, you know? And yeah, I said, yeah, I like it. And I had did a book for the Graffiti Hall of Fame. I said, you know what? I think you got an amazing festival, and I want to do a book. And he said, yeah, all right. And I met with him in the studio, and 2.5 years later, we came out with this first beautiful edition, right? And we have more in the works. So be ready, because you artists are painting some beautiful walls, and I think the world should see it, and they'll be able to say it through the publication of these books. I have a few here. If you haven't got one, see me after the talk. All right, great. So let's get into this. So I wrote up a little short outline, right, to, you know, like talk to the artists, each one individually. And the first one is going to be TKid. So he's going to talk to a little bit to us about the 70s and 80s. So TKid, how'd you become a graffiti writer, and how long did it take for you to handle a spray paint can?
Hey everybody, I'm TKid 170 from the Bronx here, man, originally, man, yeah. So, you know, it's funny how I became a graffiti writer. I didn't live too far from here. I lived on Boynton Avenue between Bruckner and Watson, 1025 Boynton back in the days. In the 70s, that was like my block, they call it the hot corner, Boynton and Watson. Boynton and Watson, you know. They called it the hot corner because of all the drugs and all the shit that was going down, you know. And it was a rough neighborhood, it really was, and there was a lot of gangs. There was one gang in particular called the Bronx Enchanters. Now, me as a kid, I must have been about 12 years old back in the days. I'm talking about 1973. That's the first time I started tagging, you know. And there's a park on the corner of Watson and Morrison, yes, St. Greensburg Park, I think it's called. That park right next to, is this thing working? That park right next to the Bronx River Parkway there. And there were swings there. And back in the days, the swings, they were kind of hard. And I used to do tricks on them, like real acrobatic stuff, jumping over fences. We had this one trick called the apple turnover, where you get under the swing and you fly over the small fence in front, you know. And I was skinny, I was real agile, and I was really, you know, really flexible and stuff, and I could do like all these amazing tricks. Man, I used to do that particular trick. I used to land on the pole. I used to go over the fence. You know, I used to do it backwards. I mean, it was insane. And we was battling these kids from Noble Park, which was further up by St. Lawrence, up that way, you know? Mm-hmm. Anyway, we won that battle, and I was so cocky there was a bodega right on the corner of Morrison and Watson, and they had the ice boxes out there, and I was like, yeah, I'm the king of the swings, and I decided with a little El Marco marker to cop a tag, and the tag was King 13. You know, King 13, because back in those days, 13 was like, 13 and 69 were like the numbers, and FTW, you saw that everywhere, FTW, you know? That was gang culture, you know, that's what was going on. Anyway, these three kids, they saw me doing this tag, and they approached me, and, you know, they were bigger than me and stuff. I was 12 years going to be 13, you know, that summer. And they made me an offer I couldn't refuse. They said, listen, we're gonna, you know, you're tagging on our turf. And I was like, I had no idea what that meant, you know? And they said, you're tagging on our turf. And I was like, okay, I'm sorry. And they were like, yeah, no, you don't understand, man. You're not supposed to do that. That's a violation. And I was like, violation? What the hell are these guys talking about? You know? Anyway, they said, listen, one of them recognized me from the park and said, oh, I know you do those tricks on the swing. You real, because we was there all the time doing this stuff. And you're real cool, man. Guess what, man? Yo, check it out. You could get your name up, but you got to put up RH for it. You got to put up BE, Bronx Enchanters, you know, whenever you write your name. And I was like, and if not, well, then we're going to, you know, beat me up, you know. And I was like, okay, I'll join the gang. And that's how I got into graffiti. And it was basically tagging up and down Watson Avenue, Westchester Avenue, between Evergreen and Morrison, you know, and I was going to Catholic school at the time. You know, so I would cop my little tag. At that time, it was the 42 bus going up Westchester Avenue, you know, to catch the 13 to go to Holy Family, because that's where my father stuck me, you know. And I would tag on the bus, King 13, you know, little tags like that. It wasn't a big thing, you know, a neighborhood bomber. And then I left that gang, and I joined another gang, because I went to the Puerto Rican Day Parade in 1976, with my boy Satch, who's not the graffiti writer Satch. This guy Satch because he had a nose like Satchmo from the East Side Comedy Kids, right? And we called him Satch. And we went to the Puerto Rican Day Parade, and we hooked up with this kid named Danko. Danko, Smokey, Diamond Dave. These guys were bombing on the 6th line. You know, they was bombing with Sly 108 in them. And somehow I ended up in that gang. And I started writing. I changed my name from King 13 to Sen 102. But we was doing mostly motion tagging, and most of the tags I was doing, because not for nothing, the panels were all taken. So we was window bombing, you know, and those got buffed real quick. So I did a lot of that stuff from I want to say from 76 to 77. Then, you know, I ended up getting into an accident with a gun in Crotona Park and whatnot, and I got shot and all this nonsense. And I remember Lincoln Hospital, brand new on 149th Street, 1977, September 25th. They saved my life there, right? And I remember recovering and being handcuffed to the bed. Like after I got out the ICU, I was handcuffed to the bed. And no one could see me. And then finally my mother and my brother came, and my brother bought me a little sketch pad and some buffalo markers, right? And that's when I decided to like start practicing different names. And I was already like into graffiti. Like, I mean, I remember as a little kid seeing graffiti everywhere. Like I said, FTW, you know, Salsa Crew. You know, that was the prominent stuff I saw. You know, because from Boone Avenue, my mother and my father were divorced. My mother lived over on Kingsbridge Avenue, or Kingsbridge Road on the other side of the Bronx, and my father lived over here. And I lived with my father. I ran away from my mother to live with my father, so it was crazy. But anyway, I would take the train and stuff, and I would see all this stuff, right? Chic, Chrome 100, the Man 5, what was it, the Man 500? Or, yeah, Man 500. You know, all this stuff, Sex, Think Aztec, all these tags and stuff. But I also used to see pieces, stuff like Little Taboo, LK, Cool 131, Part 2. And these pieces were colorful and they attracted me. So when I was laying up in that hospital, I was like, you know, and I had the graffiti already in my blood. The seed was planted already. I was like, yo, I want to do pieces. So I was messing around with the sketch pad that my brother gave me. You know, and it's funny because every time they, you know, my mother and my brother came to see me, you know, they would handcuff me to the bed. I was under arrest, you know? So I would just sit there and try drawing. So when they left, they uncuffed me, you know, and I started drawing. And I remember one of the names they used to call me was Big T, because I was tall and skinny and shaped like a T whenever I used to say, throw the ball, like when we played football, right? So Big T. And then since I was always the youngest, and the guys from the Enchanters used to call me Kid, because I was the youngest and stuff, man. You know, I was like Big T Kid. And I came up with the name TKid right there in the emergency room, in the recovery room in Lincoln Hospital back in 1977, you know? And when I got out the hospital, you know, my father now, he kind of disowned me. He was mad at me for, you know, the gangs and all that stuff, finding out about all that stuff, being arrested, you know? And he packed up, left Boynton Avenue, moved up to Yonkers. So I went back to my mother's. I was staying there. And once I was able to walk on my own, which was pretty quick, you know, and I got arraigned, you know, got 5 years probation, blah, blah, blah. I started taking the bus, man, up to Yonkers. And in Yonkers, I met this cat named Pessa, Int. His name was James Postman. He used to sell weed on the corner of Riverdale and Post Street. That's why they call him the Postman. They used to call him the Postman. You know, he delivered. so I got with him. And it was funny because before I met him, I was bombing all of Yonkers, like, with Red Devil spray paint, just doing outlines here, outlines there, TKid tags here, TKid tags there.
So you figured it out yourself with the spray can, or
yeah, I was starting
mentor?
because I had met Tracy.
Oh, okay.
I left that part out, you know. I had met Tracy through a kid that we went to Kennedy High School, meeting this kid named Peace, Nelson Maldonado. And he had met Tracy, and he was like, yo, you got to come hang out. You want to do graffiti? You're going to learn from the best, blah, blah, blah. And then also Padre Dos was another cat that lived on my block, you know, and he was always like telling me about graffiti. I used to show him tags and stuff. But then when it got serious, like, you know, when I met Tracy, that's when I really started like looking at pieces and stuff. And it was simple stuff, you know, big chunky letters and stuff, because that's what was going on at the time. But I still needed to learn how to use the spray can. And that was the question, how did I learn to adjust the spray can? So by bombing up and down Yonkers, doing these TKid outlines, I learned how to do outlines. It happened really quick. You know, it wasn't that hard to figure out. And mind you, at that time, we didn't have the paint we have now, because now they got all kind of paint, you know, made specifically for graffiti, low pressure, high pressure. Listen, I just painted some trains in Europe. They gave me these cans, them things. You go like this and it wastes a whole can of paint and you cover half the train. I was like, wow. You know, with 2 hands, I'm able to fill in half a train. I'm like, wow, and these trains are big out there.
Yeah.
You know, they didn't have none of that stuff, man. All we had was Red Devil, Krylon, Rust-Oleum, Safeguard, whatever cheap thing you could find in Woolworths, the grocery store, whatever you could find, that's what we stole, man. You know, and caps, we didn't have fat caps, we didn't have skinny caps. The regular caps were the bone caps, that's what we used, you know. And in the wintertime, the bone caps would freeze, and if you blew in them, they give you a skinny line. That was like, oh shit, wow, you know? And the fat caps, we used Jafoma, and we realized that spray starch, when you iron spray starch, they gave you a fat, and so the Jafoma oven cleaner gave you a real fat. You go with the Rust-Oleum on that sucker, and you fill in a train, you know? But that's how we got it. But learning how to use the can took some time.
Okay.
It took a lot of time, actually.
All right, cool. All right, so let's go on to Claw Money. Kind of like the same question. How did you get into graffiti? And you started in the late 80s and 90s, and you can maybe clarify
70s,
that for us. But yeah, how'd you get into graffiti? And how'd you learn how to handle the spray paint can?
Can you hear me? Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
I started being very interested in graffiti when I was a teenager. My uncle bought me a copy of spray can art. And whenever I would take the train, I would just be like mesmerized by the graffiti. And when I moved to Manhattan to go to college at FIT, I started going out to nightclubs. And then I don't even know how it just somebody would always pull out a can and take tags. And I was standing there. I was like, can I have the can? And, you know, I'm Claw. It was my childhood nickname. I mean, duh. Nobody wanted to give me the can. Nobody wanted to give me the okay. And I just was like, you know, I'm just going to start painting. I was, you know, I had a a boyfriend who was a writer, and it just really piqued my interest. I was a toy for a long time, and I couldn't control the can for a long time. But I thought it was like incredible work, and that everybody was just being mean to me. I was like, I would outline in silver, like I would do stuff that people didn't do, and there's a reason why people didn't do that, because the paint would spread, and this was also before they had all the great paint. So I was using whatever I could get my hands on and stealing Jif caps and soaking all my caps in nail polish remover, with going through with little needles. I would like save them forever. And then I realized that I had to get a little bit better and learn can control, but it was just from constantly painting and constantly trying new things that really didn't work, but I was on my own tip.
Where were you bombing at in those early days? Did
It was
you
mostly
go across the city, or?
So it was mostly in Manhattan at that time. I was really interested in covering Manhattan from top to bottom.
And you was writing Claw all the time, or another name?
I was writing Claw. I was also writing 24K, 24 Carat. My last name is Gold. And I would do bubble letters. First, I would only do pieces. I was really trying to like copy Zephyr and Sharp and kind of do these very intricate pieces, but I didn't really understand that, you couldn't do 3D, in a different direction. I don't know. I was trying, but I was a lone wolf. And then throw up started to become much more popular in street bombing. And I was like, I need to come up with something much more simple. So I did sort of like a basic junior high bubble letter of claw, and then I started putting the nails on the claw. And at that time, trains were like eradicated, so everybody sort of moved on to trucks. So we were constantly painting in truck yards. And I would, go to these different truck yards after we were done bombing, sort of like our last stop after they like pulled the trucks in. And I painted a whole bunch of trucks, and you would be able to like sort of recognize them when they were driving down the street, when you were like, oh, there's my truck. And this truck drove down the street, and somebody went over half of my throw up, the CLA part, and they just left the W out with the nails on it. And that was sort of my like anger turned to like an aha moment where I was like, oh, there it is. Like, I don't have to write 4 letters. There's my name and just, a little icon.
And did you face any challenges as a female artist in the community?
I felt like it was like a real advantage when I would paint. I was often alone, like in the beginning, and somebody would say something to me or look at me, and I'd be like, you didn't see anything. And they would be like, okay. I swear to God, I don't know why it worked, but it did. Of course, I would get myself in trouble, but, I got the gift of gab, so I'd be able to kind of talk my way out of stuff.
You made it work. So same question for you, Also. How did you kind of get into the graffiti arts movement, and how did you get the handle on the spray paint can?
For me, my interest in graffiti started really early on. My brother was a graffiti writer. He went by Posk. He was a 90s writer. And so when he didn't live with us, but every time he was in the house, he would have his black book with him. And could you hear me?
Well, yeah.
This is in the 90s. This is like 97.
97.
97, yeah. And I would see him in the house, 97 to 99, and I would see him in the house with a black book. And I lived on Sheridan Avenue, 170th, and so everything was just covered in graph. So I would connect, maybe this is my brother. I would see all the graph outside, and I would just relate it to maybe this is him. And 99, then we moved towards me and my family, we moved to like where Vice Avenue, you know, West Farms area. And from there, I just saw so much graph that was inspiring me, from like Rise, 9 Volt, you know, the Just of the World. We also had, we have Notch that lived in the back block. But pretty much, this was what was the things that was inspiring me as a writer. And then I had when I was in junior high, I was doing the bus thing. I was just catching tags on buses. My first name was Raz, and then it was Sim. It was Raz because of Taz, and he had a spot on top of Southern Boulevard and East 180th Street on this rooftop, and I would see it all the time. So these are some of the things that really inspired me, and then I kind of just was tagging. And when I got into high school, and I went to Jane Addams High School, and my first interaction with writers outside of my neighborhood, where everybody had a black book on this cafeteria table, and I'm hyped. I'm like, oh, writers. I'm like, yo, I write too. I write too. And they're like, oh yeah, what you write? I was like, Raz. And they were like, oh, that name was taken already, bro. That name was taken already. And they was like, I was like, oh, say word. They were like, yeah, man, let me see what you do.
Yeah.
They're like, toy. And I was like, ah, man, shit. And but from there on, these guys from Nogs, this one dude named Ed, and these guys were on the 6th line, and this is like 2006, 2007.
Yeah.
And this wave of writers is like TGKs, these bombers, just straight up bombers, and everything, And yeah, it's straight up bombers, and man, there were so many graffiti writers of my age group, and those guys was kind of like trying to teach me the way. And this one guy from my neighborhood named Joker, and we would go to this rooftop, because I was mainly doing tags with markers and stuff like this. And so my first interaction with a spray can, I'm 14 years old, and I thought the can wasn't working. I thought the can wasn't, I couldn't press it down. And you know, I was like, yo, this doesn't work. Joker's like, no, bro. This works, bro. This is working. And he's the one that taught me how to like do a fill. And from there on, I got connected with other guys in my neighborhood besides the guys in school. And in my neighborhood, we have ONT crew, and you know, some of these guys that are still writing to this day. There's a Smack, Gibbs, you know, these writers, and now actually a huge chapter in France. Huge, crazy chapter in France. So my interaction with Spray Can was there, and then I was rocking. I was trying to catch fills in the street. I saw Boone Avenue back when they did the meeting of styles with these guys and Cope and them, and man, that was like, I got to see some really dope productions early on from like FX, you know, and like FC, sure, but like seeing that was like a huge magnitude for me, because I got to, a lot of the writers from my generation was outside. We got to see people painting, and so you know, man, I think that was like full on. It blew me away. And then Sentu had opened that shop, the bakery. And then when he opened the bakery, and I would go to school, there was pieces every single day on the fucking line. It's like not every day, but every week it was a new piece. And the bombers was bombing consistently. Every line was being crushed. And it was all bombing, you know. And so seeing it, you know, like I couldn't imagine myself being you know, doing pieces right away. Like I knew it was possible, because you know, I could see it, but like I didn't see how you could get to it, you know. And so like it wasn't an existing thing that I could do,
You had to learn it.
Yeah,
It was
you know,
a journey.
but little
Learn
by
it.
little, you know, just kind of within the journey and bombing and learning from other writers, other mentors from like Sen2, Notch. I had Stay High that lived right across the street from me. And so Stay High used to sit with the O&T guys and the MLB guys from my neighborhood.
Hold that right there. So we're going to get back to you.
Okay, so sorry.
We're going to get back to
Okay.
you. All right.
But
so
that's
now,
pretty much it.
Now
Sorry.
we're gonna show some images now, and first up is going to be TKid, and so TKid gave us a lot of images. So I'm gonna give him kind of like my next question, and you can answer it as we go through your slideshow. So TKid, you've been well documented, right? They did a documentary about you. They did a book. Same name, and can you tell me about this name you before we get into all the cars? You call this the nasty, terrible TKid 170. That's quite a title. How'd you come up with that?
They gave it to me, man. Actually,
They gave it to you.
actually, it was Per from the FX crew. Per that used to call me, yo, you're nasty. You know, and I thought it was cool, and I kept it. But it had a lot to do with the reputation that I built back in the days. You know, I bring that gang culture with me into writing.
Okay.
And and I wasn't such a humble person, let's just say. You know, and the people that I ran with were, you know, a couple of psychopaths and sociopaths and stuff like that.
So that's where the terrible comes in.
That's where the terrible came in from, and yeah, and I ran with these guys, and you know, I became a part of that for a long time, and I built this messed up reputation that that was, retrospectively looking back, I mean, listen, I don't regret anything, because to get to where I'm at today, I had to go through what I had to go through, to learn, to experience. And just to become the person I am today, and I learned what in life is worth doing and what is not, and I got that name from, like my reputation and stuff, oh, that kid is nasty, man. I was nasty with style, not only with style, I was nasty with my hands. I was, that was all part of the stuff, man, growing up in that time, coming into the culture at that time. You brought all that into it, And let me tell you, man, like I came in, like I started piecing. My journey really began in '77. All the tagging, all that stuff was nonsense until that point. I was a toy. I was a complete toy. But once I started getting, once I got shot, that was it. I changed. I was like, yo, I ain't tagging no more. I'm just doing outsides, And I had talked to Tracy. I had talked to Padre. These guys were influencing me already. And I was watching what they were doing, just on paper, on photos and stuff, and the stuff I used to see on the train.
Yeah.
I was like, that's what I want to do. That's like when I got to Yonkers, I started doing outlines instead of tags.
Yeah.
A tag here and there, but I was doing outlines.
Yeah.
I was doing TK, a spray can, D. We're talking 1977. I was doing TK, a face, a D.
All right, so let's get into it. Let's go on these trains. So
Let's go.
That's
Let's go.
you.
So
Talk to us.
So, by this time, this is like 83. By this time, my trains, I was doing trains. Now, I mean, people had already developed everything from the arrow, coming from bubble letters to mechanical styles to styles. I started telling stories with my trains, and that's what set me apart from a lot of people. Like this car, this right here is, I don't want to go back to school car. And of course I read the Daily News and stuff, and you had that cartoon, The Princess and the Witch. I forgot the name. It's not Haggard or How? Broomhilda. So on the other side, it was a Sem, Ken, TKid, and the kids. Sem, Ken, kids, right? Kids don't want to go back to school, and we have Broomhilda on one side. That represented the teacher, and then the student over here was the princess. It was all about telling a story, That's how I started developing and stuff.
Next car.
So this was my first car, and this was me and Pessa, and that was my attempt of drawing my face and Pessa's face. I did the whole car. Pessa helped me fill it in. And believe it or not, the spray paint that we used here was one can of Cascade Green, which is Rust-Oleum. The rest were all Safeguard. I mean, this paint, like if you write graffiti and you experience Martin's paint, that it was just good for fillings. You couldn't really do much with it, you know? And that's what we used, man. Marsh, that tan color, that was a marsh paint. They made ink. They didn't make spray paint, they made ink, but they had a can of marsh. It was like camouflage colors, you know? And this was 1977. This was my first piece. This was Peso ink. That was his initials.
So is the face influenced like from Tracy 168?
Yeah,
Since you were saying that.
from the but then again, it wasn't just Tracy. There was a lot of people doing faces.
Okay.
You can't say, especially on the one line.
Yeah.
You saw that particular face. Now Tracy's face was more refined.
Yeah.
You know? But this was my attempt, and that was me and Pesa, and of course it was 1977 when we had the gas crisis, and somewhere in this car it says "Save Gas." You know? Yeah, over there in the beginning, you see it. Save gas.
Oh, yeah, right
because
there.
I remember my father like cursing at the gas station because there was a line around the corner and stuff. And it's funny because, you know, graffiti for me, I was influenced by my environment, okay? I didn't have other graffiti writers. We didn't have magazines. We didn't have none of that stuff. I was influenced by what was going on, what was happening in society, my neighborhood, you know, and that's how I told the story. And that was me and Pesa when we first met, man.
Next
you
car.
know, we smoked a joint, we all goofy looking and stuff, you know.
All right.
Okay, so this is later on. This is on the 4 line. This is when I started experimenting. I think I'm the first guy ever to paint a silver piece, because silver was just used for throw-ups, right? Not me. I said, I'm gonna do a burner with silver. And not only that, I'm not using black or red like they usually use for an outline. I'm gonna use turquoise, you know, and I used a turquoise outline. I said, let me do the designs with black. See, that was about me moving forward, you know, taking it to the next level. And that's why people said I was nasty, because I did stuff like that. That's a pro TKid with the city and everything going on.
So you sound like you're thinking like an artist, a true artist that's actually making art.
Graffiti did bring out the artist in me. I didn't even know I was an artist. I never took any art lessons. I didn't think I could draw, but hey, look at me now. You know?
All right, next call.
Okay, see, once again, let's tell the story. This night was me, Sem, Sem and Mac down in the Ghost Yard. I'm talking about torrential downpour. We went in there, we found like blankets on the street on Broadway, and we were using them to wipe the train as we was painting, you know? That's how dedicated we were. You know, we talked about, you caught the fever. You know, once you go, man, who said that case, right?
Yeah,
was
yeah.
in Star Wars.
Yeah.
We got the fever. You know, once you started painting, it became highly addictive. Like you wanted to go every day, all the time, whenever you can, you know? And we were like, we had just done a bunch of cars. But it was raining. We had silver paint, and said, "Let's go down to the Ghost," and that's what we did.
Cool. Next car.
Next car. The infamous Scene Tracy TKid. This was 1985.
Wow.
This was the last train I did on I want to say that's an R17 painted white. Remember when Mayor Koch went on TV, said, "I dare them to write graffiti. I'm going to paint the trains white. I'm going to put dogs in the yards. I'm going to put razor wire everywhere, and I'm going to get those darn graffiti writers." Guess what, man? Thank you for the canvas, Mayor Koch. You know? Thank you, buddy. Because guess what? We cut the wires. The dogs were not allowed in the running train yards, you know?
Wow.
They were put between fences, and once we hopped over the fence, we knew how to avoid everything, man.
And Scene's a great artist today too.
Yeah,
so,
Scene's another.
all three of you guys.
He's another artist, you know.
Yeah, all these great
and
artists.
Tracy, my mentor. I mean, I painted a couple of cars with Tracy, man, on the sea line that we never saw. You know, me, Bill Rock, Tracy, me, Min, and Tracy. But this one, you know, was documented, man.
Nice.
You know, and that's another thing. I wasn't big on pictures. You know, everybody. I depended on other people to give me pictures, man. But this one. This one came out nice, man.
Yeah,
so this was a crazy night. We were effed up, man. Oh my God. We went Dyer Avenue, man, painting, you know. Tracy was like, T, man, come on, you're taking up too much space, man. He started doing a Tracy piece and it didn't fit, so he covered it up and put the Tracy tag. And he still burned.
Right.
You know, listen, it didn't matter, man. It was about getting up, man.
Next
it was about getting up. See, this is what I mean about telling a story. This is the all city kids right here, man. We're killing the trains, man. Me, Ken, Double N, and Boozer. Boozer was one of my best partners, man.
Wow.
Because see, Boozer, he could fill in. Like I was the guy that did the outlines. You know, I would design the cars, and mostly right there on the spot. I get there to the train. This was in the 1 tunnel. We had just racked up all this paint, man. We went in there with a duffel bag full of paint, and we was determined to use it all, and we did. That night, we did this car. We did top to bottoms, and we did another car with a girl and a guy playing a guitar, man, or a guitar in my piece. That's what it was. And we did like 3 cars. But this one right here, this was about, you know, using the style, throwing in the character, adding all the elements. Because see, that's what it became for me. It became about telling a story. This is my city. This is who I am. This is what I do. You know, and this is what it was. This is what came out of me, man.
Next car. So you guys must have been
so this one here,
rackers.
This one here is funny.
But y'all had a system of rack and paint to be constantly hitting cars.
So rack and paint was a must. We never bought any paint. You know, we didn't go to these graffiti shops and say, yo, man, hook me up, man. Give me that $10 can for $5. We didn't do that. Nah, we went into Rickles, we went into Channel Lumbers, we went into Wolf's Paint, we went into Mom and Pop's little hardware store, you know, we went wherever, Woolworths, you know, and then they put the glass up, and we used to put the lock, slip it all the way down, pop it, and get all the paint, and we used to steal the paint. That was like if you bought paint, you was a toy. You was a toy. You know, that was the one thing. Everything had to be illegal, from trespassing to getting this stuff up. You know, and this particular train right here, man, this was in the Ghost Yard. You know, Shock was locked up, all right? So I did a tribute to Shock. Then I did the TKid. Then I did the Sem outline. Sem started coloring in. Then he went off with the Tats crew and started painting another train. Tats crew just had started painting with us, you know? And this was in the Ghost Yard. This was 1983, I believe, the end. Yeah, winter of 83. And then I was like, yo, I gotta throw the break dancers in there, you know? We had somebody bought a boombox. We had music playing in the Ghost Yard in the middle of the night. I mean, that's how crazy we was. We didn't care. You know, and it was like, yo, I'm gonna celebrate our culture, and that's what this car became, a celebration of our culture from the Bronx. Breakdancing, rap, all that stuff, that's what we did. And I put it up on art, I put it on the trains in the ultimate gallery that ever existed, the New York City Transit System.
And where's the Ghost Yard located, by the way?
What was that?
Where was it located? The Ghost Yard.
The Ghost Yard's 207th Street repair station right on the other side of, you go down Fordham Road, cross that bridge to your right, you'll see a train yard there, that's the Ghost Yard. And if you wanna know why they named it the Ghost Yard, you could talk to Mike 171, SJK, all those cats, they'll tell you, okay? Back in the days, they used hand lanterns for light at night. And if you know that area, you know in the summertime it gets foggy. And to see those lanterns, those workers with those lanterns in the middle of the night in that fog, made the place look like a ghost yard. So that's why they called it the Ghost Yard, according to Mike 171.
Thank you. Next train, yeah.
See, and this is another thing graffiti writers did. You know, we like our people. This is my brother. He celebrated his birthday. I put happy birthday, Alex. I did a piece for him, and then I did my TKid. This is 1978, by the way. You know, my style is developing. I'm starting to learn hand control. As you see, you know, and it's funny because I can make real skinny lines with those Red Devil caps. You know, Red Devil paint, like I could get it to go really skinny. I learned by flipping it upside down and letting some of the pressure out, you could get a skinny line. You know, and that's without a skinny cap. You know, and if you look at the shines on the TKid, you can see how skinny those lines were. You know, and I was renowned for that stuff, man.
Okay, next car.
That's the same car.
Right,
but very blurry.
Right.
This looks nice. This was my second piece ever, man. Oh my God.
That's pretty good.
At that. Look at that sexy girl with, you see the girls today with the eyelashes? Not trying to knock that style, you know, but you see the red eyelashes? Man, I couldn't draw worth a dime back then, man. You know, but yo, you know, like Claude was saying, man, you know, I thought that looked real fly. Mother effers was talking about, yo, that shit is so toy, you know. I mean, that was my second piece, but look how, from the first piece, look how much I improved. Look at the sharpness of the letters, you know, the outlines. You know, that was a TKid int. And then over here was, like, the first card was MGA, which meant, what was it, MGA, Master Graffiti Artist, you know? And now this is the first TNB car. I came up with a crew called TNB, the Nasty Boys, and it was really two Nasty Boys, me and Pessa. We were two Nasty Boys. And that was another reason they called me Nasty, because I came up with that crew, the Nasty Boys. And then when I saw it on the WWF or whatever the wrestling stuff was, I was like, I should sue them for stealing my name. Yeah. I should have copyrighted it, but I didn't. You know?
Okay.
But what I'm trying to tell you is, look how quick I developed.
All right.
You know?
Next
picture, please. The pearl piece. You know, man, somebody said I was heavily influenced by Tracy on this one. Yeah, by the way the arrows come out and the swirls coming on the top over there. You know, and I was always constantly looking for a different style. And I always had paint. And you know, when I would go paint trains, I would do not only a TKid car, but I would practice and do other names, like a Pearl piece, a Peb piece, a Wake 5 piece. You know, I was a Dr. Bad piece. That was another name that I liked to rock back in the 70s, was Dr. Bad, you know? And it's funny because it was all about practicing and trying to get better. And that's what was going on, you know?
Next car.
See, that's one of my other names, Wake 5. That I had did the TKid Pearl piece with this one here, and I had leftover paint that I didn't use, some purples. That's Zambezi purple from Pittsburgh Paints. I was like so impressed by that color, you know? And of course, pastel aqua, you know? I had that stuff left over in some black, and I was like, let me see what happens. You know, and I say, hey, yo, Pessa, man, hook me up with that jungle green so I could do some designs and stuff. But that was another thing, like watching Part and Cool, you know, those guys and Panic, Payne, all those guys do their pieces and whatnot. They would do designs, and that's what I would do with these practice names. I would practice designs. And it's funny because sometimes the other names that I do always came out better than my name. You know?
Yeah,
So
next car.
And this is, once again, this is an int race Dr. Bad. That was my other infamous name, Dr. Bad. And if you look, you know, basically I'm practicing with the colors. Now I'm trying to figure out colors here. You know, this is like 78, late 77, early 78. You know, I'm in the one tunnel. I'm like, yeah, we got all these blues. We got some reds. They ugly colors. They don't match. But guess what? When you start putting them on a train, it starts coming out something different. And you start realizing that, whoa, wait a minute, this works.
Yeah.
And that's what it was always all about for me, was seeing what works, what doesn't work.
Next car.
That was a TKid. So I came upstate and I finally racked me up some Cascade Green, some Dunes Tan, you know, some Fed Green. And you can't see this car. This was those 126 cameras that we used to steal from the supermarket, and they came with the little mail in the film. And we used to steal those things. The only thing is with those cameras, man, you know, they didn't work too good, man, you know? And I guess the train started moving, so it came out a little blurry, and that's the only picture I got. But there's like a secret agent on the other side of that train, you know, over there with the glasses and stuff, with a big brim hat. So that was the secret agent TKid with the background and stuff. And it was a really cool car to see and how bright it was, man. You know, if it was on the other side of the track, I probably would have had a better picture, but no, unfortunately.
Yeah, next
Let's see
car.
what else. See, telling a story, The Cops and Robbers, so good you could eat it. So this was me and Pessa's first real dope car, right? So I came and I did these outlines, and it was about, you know, like the cops, like we had gotten raided in the 1 yard, you know, and it was funny because the cops saw us there, they were in the yard, and that's an elevated yard, so you know the 1 yard, it's up by Van Cortlandt. And the cops was like trying to catch us, and we were messing with them. We were throwing cans the other way, and they were going the other way. And then we jumped down on top of this. There's like a little soccer field next to it, and a pool hall underneath at the time, you know. And we got away. So then the next day, we went down to the one tunnel, and we did this car. And you know, the cop is trying to catch us, and we're smiling. We're the robbers, you know. We're getting away with murder and stuff. And that's what it was all about, telling, you know, a story with the trains. And this was 1977.
Next car.
Yeah. Okay, so this is the Dr. Bad TKid. You can't see it too good. It's a lousy picture. Once again, you know, I wasn't a photographer. That was a 110 camera, believe it or not. You know, and you got the character there dancing. You know, I got the Dr. Bad, you know, flaring away with the colors and stuff. Then I got a TKid there, and that's actually a character of Howard the Duck, and he's playing a guitar. You know, because, you know, music was like a big motivator for us, you know. And me, you know, I grew up, listen, in the Bronx, hip-hop was just beginning, so I was into the beats. Because before the rapping and all that stuff, you heard beats, you know, break beats. That's what I was heavily into. Then when I started hanging up in Yonkers and stuff, there was a lot of different guys up there that, you know, weren't Puerto Rican, and they like rock and roll. And I got into rock and stuff. So I was like, one of the groups that I really liked was Led Zeppelin. That guy, Jimmy Page, was amazing, you know. And I was like, yo, man, I'm gonna draw this character. That's Jimmy Page playing the guitar, but he's a duck, you know? But you can't see it, it's a shame, because it was a beautiful train, man.
Next car.
This was, I got raided, man. You know, this once again, I was doing, that was the day that I did the int race and Dr. Bad car. I did a TKid, and I started doing a TKid. Next thing I know, man, we got raided, man. We had to go, I couldn't finish it. You know, you could tell it's not finished. but it was coming out pretty nice, and I was going to put some characters next to it. So that's what, it happens. That's part of the thing.
Okay, that's it.
That's
Thank
it for
you.
me, guys. So,
Wow.
I hope
Yeah.
you got something out of it.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
We're going to turn this over to my girl over here, Claw Money.
Oh, money. Yeah. So Claude Money, I'm gonna speed it up a little bit. So as we go through these slides, right?
Oh, that's Boone Ave.
Right?
Woo!
Before you, yeah. So at what point did you transition from bombing to a broader creative pursuit, including clothing design and serving as a creative director for major brands? So let's go to the next slide here. I know that's Boone Ave. So this is one of your creative collaborations, right? With Extra Brother.
This is a store. They have one in the Lower East Side and one in Long Island City, and this is in Long Island City. So I was writing graffiti, and I stopped in the mid-'90s because it was giving me nothing but headaches and heartaches and pains in the butt. And I didn't write graffiti for about 6 years, and I was really trying to concentrate on my career as a fashion stylist. And I think it was While You Were Sleeping magazine, I think this is like 1999, they were doing an article about all the New York City female graffiti artists, and I think Zephyr wrote it, and I said, I don't even write anymore. I don't even want to, why would I be in this? And he said, oh, no, half these people don't write. You have to be in it. And I went to that interview, and there I met a young Miss 17 who was just starting out with her bombing takeover. And we became very good friends, and she started working for me as, assistant stylist. She was in college, and she was just sort of very young and just figuring her life out. And every time we would finish working, she'd say, I have paint in the car. And I'd say, oh, no. And one night I was like, okay, give me the paint. And we started, we just did a bunch of spots in the Lower East Side. And mind you, when I wrote graffiti, there wasn't, the internet and all the websites. And the next day, she's like, oh my God, the internet's on fire. Everybody's so happy that you painted. And I was like, what are you even talking about? And she sent me these links, and it was like, oh my God, Claw's back. I saw these claws, I'm so happy. But then I started really looking at these sites and looking at her posts and reading just the most disgusting, vile, misogynistic comments that she doesn't paint her own stuff, her boyfriend does it, she doesn't do this, she doesn't do that. And I said to myself, what would happen? What would they say if I was to paint with her? What would their argument be then? Mm-hmm. If all of a sudden there wasn't a man involved? And so I was like, all right, we'll go painting. And really it was her dragging me out. And at that time it was just after, we're painting a lot, 9/11, and after 9/11, everybody in New York was being so nice to each other. People were locking arms and trying to, save their city. There were lots of new, young streetwear brands, and everybody would say to me, hey, you should do a cloth for my t-shirt brand. Hey, do a cloth for my denim brand. Hey, one day I woke up, I said, oh, I think I should just make a t-shirt.
All right.
And I did, and people were like, I see this everywhere, I don't know what this is. There was a whole mysterious sort of rollout of it. And I was asked to be in a book called Autograph, and it was the first time that people had really gone out of their way to take portraits of active graffiti writers.
Was that Peter Sutherland's book?
It was Peter Sutherland's book.
Did all the artists covered their face though, right? In that book? Or
But
no?
yeah, I blew a giant bubblegum bubble that was covering my face.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah.
Yes, everybody was kind of covering their face. Some people didn't, but they asked me to be on a press tour to help promote the book. And really after that, like everybody was just after me. It was like that, and that the publisher wanted me to come out with a book, which I did in 2006, and I started being a fashion editor for Shepard Fairey and Roger Gassman's magazine Swindle, and it was just like it was like the beginning of the culture change and the shift of fashion, and since fashion was really like my focal point before graffiti, I went to Fashion Institute of Technology. I wanted to be a stylist, a designer, this, that. That it fit. It was like a natural fit. But you know, I was playing cat and mouse because I was doing lots of illegal graffiti in the street and making clothes. So the stores that I sold at were like very protective. And it's funny because it seemed at the time then it was the art that sort of represented it was like the advertising for the clothing, and now it's sort of the other way around where like the clothing is an advertising for like the art. Yeah.
So you took Payne to keep a street creed to enhance or actually move the sales of your clothes.
Right. And then I was asked to be in a documentary movie, and you know, I have a lot of friends that don't write graffiti, women that were fans and good friends of mine, and they said like, nobody knows that you're a woman, like it's your responsibility, you need to do this movie. I was like, but I was getting older, I knew I had to stop, and it was sort of the movie, the book, I was like, okay, but I basically painted, I think the last thing I did, I painted subways with Utah. That was my last big hurrah. And it was like when the book went in the can, like to the printer, like we knew it was done.
That was it.
And yeah, we did some trains.
Next slide. Okay, so this is a Nike shoe. Can you talk a little bit about that collaboration?
So I think, you know, I got on a lot of people's radar because of the dual, the fashion and the graffiti, and I was always a sneakerhead because I wrote graffiti and I had to wear sneakers because I needed to get the hell out of there real quick. Who knows, beef, cops, whatever. So I always was wearing sneakers, and I kind of really championed, you know, shopping in the boys department. For women, I was always wearing, you know, they'd be like, where did you get those Jordans? And I'd be like, in the boys department, they're half the price. So I was like a sneaker person anyway, helped Bob Bito make his book, and when Nike was ready to take their like artist series, what they call like a tier 0 sneaker, into the women's sector, they called me, so I had the honor of doing the first. I did 2 of them though.
First one,
Yeah.
okay. And do you
And
know
that was
how
in
many,
2007.
You know how many they made? A lot of these
No,
limited editions.
I want to know.
Oh, you want to know?
I don't know.
Okay.
I have no idea. But it's a limited, like they're only available in like 11 stores in the world. And
Oh,
people,
okay.
like, wait. And this is, you know, before the internet. And
So it must be a real collectible then these days.
oh yeah.
If you have a pair. All right, next slide. Okay, so this is interesting that that has to be a dream to have
It's a
your name on a
dream.
spray paint can.
Well, first of all, I want to shout out my boy Wayne in the audience. Hey, baby.
What's up, Wayne?
Wayne introduced me to Montana. Montana became a great sponsor for me for my projects, and they asked me to do a can, and I said yes. But yes, this is a real thrill. This is one of my proudest moments, you know, because it's really full circle. Like, I am really interested in taking graffiti sort of out of its regular context and putting it in other places. so having it come back to graffiti culture is really, amazing to me.
Yeah, it's a big deal. Wow, congrats on that.
Yeah.
Next slide. Okay, no, let's go to, you know what? I wanted her to talk about the Claw Money World in Australia. Do I have a slide in there? Before that? I guess he didn't put it in. Okay, so let's talk about Claw Money World in Australia. That just ended, right, in March?
Yes, it just ended. So I did a 35-year retrospective in Warrnambool, Australia. I got an email from somebody who said, I'm really obsessed with your story, I'm obsessed with your work and how it goes multimedia, and I really want to do a project with you. And they were able to cobble together some funds, and I went over there and I painted my butt off. But I also, when NFTs became popular, I didn't understand. I was so busy studying it, trying to understand how it made sense. But I was I have 30 years of digital, of so much digital art. It would be stupid for me not to use it. Then NFTs crashed. Well, I should have just done them right away. But I waited to figure out that it was a scam. But I wanted the show to be you walked into an NFT, you're in sort of an unrealistic viewing. So I made these giant 8 feet inflatable claws that had a world, and they were hanging up, and I did different sort of tenets of my work. I did we did a whole fashion exhibition. And then I did a lot of printed work, and I really painted everything there on the spot, though.
That's pretty amazing. Did you have any tentacles in Australia before they called you? Or they just heard about you?
No, it was just rare. But one of my, a really good friend of mine for 30 years, our original OG female graffiti artist, Tash, lives in Australia, and I was can you help me with the show? And she took 2 weeks off of work and helped me put together the show. So it was
pretty amazing.
It was real. It was a real team of women. It was great.
All right. Okay, so you can go to El Sols is next. So El Sols, you talked a little bit about your experiences learning from other artists, but continue to talk about that. But let's talk about this piece here. Tell us a little bit about this.
Yeah, that's your orange right there.
That's it.
That's your orange. I got a cool TKid story too. We'll share later. Yeah, no. So I guess before I talk about the piece, I'll talk a little bit about the journey of learning from other writers a little bit.
Yeah, I like to hear that.
Well, because getting to the name, it took a while. Getting to the name Souls, first it was Soul, and then it became Souls, and then El Souls. But it took a while because of just trial and error and learning, and so many names that was taken. So I was also respecting a little bit of history, and like I was saying, the guys in my neighborhood who were writers, from the ONT, from the MLBs to the TGKs. This all my generation is that era where Claw Money helped inspired, and so many writers that was from the 90s that were still prevalent. And from the BRT guys, the bombers, a lot of the bombing really ended up inspiring a lot of graffiti writers, not just the pieces. There was dope pieces happening, and productions, but what was really getting a lot of writers going was the bombing, and they were starting young. And so I was one of those young bombers, when a lot of my peers were ahead of me. So pretty much it took about, 2-3 years really until I got my feet grounded in spray painting and painting and bombing. And when I got grounded, nobody wanted to go out. Nobody wanted to go out. It was everybody was slowing down. They wanted to stop. And I'm nah, man. I'm ready. Let's go. And so then a new wave of writers that actually came out who were toys when I was coming out as well. So that like these are like the Vens and Life, like VT Crew and a lot of the 6 Line guys. So pretty much I was bombing by myself, and then ended up bombing with some of these guys. Like I said, Ven, Life, even Spray, and several other guys. I eventually felt like a soldier. So kind of tying it back to this piece is like feeling like a soldier, or a lone soldier in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the individual.
With the soldier, and that was kind of I sketched out this soldier with this piece, and then I had space for something else. I was like, I'll throw the alien, and COVID was happening, so I threw this alien with a nurse outfit. I just was having fun with it. I was just having fun with it.
Yeah. So when you were you bombing across the city, or just in the Bronx?
Yeah. So when I was bombing, I was bombing in the Bronx and the city. I was working in the city, and it took a while to get a partner. And my first partner ended up being this guy named Mur, he's like 6'9".
Wow.
He's really tall, and so he's like a short dude and a really tall dude. Going out bombing Chelsea, Midtown, going to Brooklyn, walking from Queens back to the city, and going to the Bronx. And it was a lot of trial and error, but that's when I was doing soul, and from there on, my story kind of changes a little bit because loss of parents and so on, and so then it became not just soul, it became souls. So kind of commemorating my parents and many other people before me.
Yeah. I love that. Next piece. Next slide. Was this this wasn't in New York though, right?
No, this is Massachusetts. Big shout out to Wayne, man. Wayne
Wayne's in the house.
Wayne's in the house, man. Talk about a person that spreads so much culture around the world and influence.
Wayne brought graffiti to Europe.
Dude,
that's a big story.
Well, TKid was there first.
That's not true.
That's not true.
Well, he taught them how to paint in Germany.
That's not true either.
He gave some names.
Wayne did a lot. He did a lot.
All right.
That he
Well,
did.
Wayne is going to be up here in about 6 weeks. Go right ahead.
This one was a festival, Springfield. What was it? Fresh Paint. And I did this wall, the portrait with. I did the portrait, and then Nero, another writer, Nero 156.
Yeah.
He did the flowers, and we did the background with the silhouettes with some of the community, with some of the community members there. And this is like my first big portrait that I got to do.
What year?
This is, man, I just got off a plane. I can't
All right, no
remember.
problem. Next slide.
2021.
Oh, that's
Thank
not
you.
that
Thank
long
you.
ago.
It wasn't that long ago.
All
No.
right, next slide. Oh, this is mean. Tell us about this.
Oh, man. So, I like talking about influence, man, and letters. And so this right here, this guy from Spain, Valencia, had came to town, and he hit me up. I connected through some other Spaniard artists, writers that I know, and he was doing these font styles similar to like a Pantone, but he's just like more font and like more color blocking stuff. So I was like, hey man, we're gonna do a piece together. This wasn't the first one, but we did one before, and I was like, I really love doing different fonts and letters. And so pretty much this was the second one that I did, and he painted on the right side of me, and then my boy, my partner, Image, painted on the left side, and I just had fun with it. Scrap cans, play around with different fonts, Yeah.
A lot
yeah.
of colors. You had many cans then, right?
Yeah. A lot of scrappers.
A lot of scrappers. Okay.
A lot of scrappers.
Scrappers. Okay. And where's this at?
This was in Jersey. This is Jersey. New Jersey, for a jam. Oh man, Brick City Jam. It was.
Brick City. Yeah.
Brick City. Yeah.
That's coming up, right?
That's coming up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, dope.
All right. Next slide.
But don't worry, I won't touch your paint, man.
Good man.
So this one of those mines. I shot this in Queens, but I thought it's a pretty big wall, man.
Yo, yeah, this
Tell me
was a
about
pretty
it.
big wall. It was definitely took some time, but it was very fun as well. Man, yeah, no, I'm a man. I love comics. I love like collaging this shit. It's just like being able to show different pieces of stories is dope. So like pretty much, I shouted out, pretty much like my crew that I'm in, OTM. I mean, did threw a little tats because I just started working with tats during that time. Kind of coming out the egg because I felt like with the whole conversation about influence and one generation to another, it's big, man. It's not like we could talk about it in the context of graffiti is one thing, but then like the social science behind it is bugged out, man, because we connect with people from different cultures, different eras, different generation, and like it's breaking down borders. It breaks down borders of stigmatisms and xenophobias in the world. You know what I mean? Like it's so I really felt like this was proper because I was also starting to travel and what's this guy's name? I'm thinking of Donald Duck. Help me. No, Howard the Duck, and that movie, man, where he's like just beams into the other fucking universe, and he's like, like on Earth with humans, and so like I felt like this would be dope just to kind of show like the El Traveler situation. So yeah, that was this wall, and this is in Wellincourt, Queens. Actually, I because of Wayne also. Shout out to Wayne. Yo, Wayne, man, yo. You get a lot of shout outs, man. Yo, man.
Where's the agent?
Yo.
He's
Yeah,
our
man.
agent. Yeah. All right. So, I caught this truck somewhere
Yo, dope
on
photo,
34th
man.
Street.
I need this photo.
But tell us about this truck. Have you done a lot of trucks too?
Oh man, yeah, a lot of trucks, man. And that's another thing. Nobody wanted to pay trucks with me, man. I was getting these trucks, man. I still getting these trucks, and nobody wanted to paint. No, like I had crewmates. Some of the older guys. I won't mention their names, but I was like, yo, I'm getting trucks, man. We gotta paint. And they're like, yeah, let's set it up. When I was coming around Boone Avenue, kind of wanting to paint a wall, Wen was like, yo, just stick around. And I had already met Wayne in this one, it was like a little jam in Brooklyn with Mears.
Yeah.
And so I met Wayne there, and then when we were in Boone Avenue, I was like, hey man, you wanna paint a truck? And he was like, yo, you got a truck? You got a truck?
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
you wanna? He's like, yo, let's set it up. Can you bring? I tell him come right here. Can you tell him pull up? And then we kind of started painting a lot of trucks together. And the truck journey kind of like got big, man. It's dope because then it's like, you're somewhere in the world, could be somewhere in the States or somewhere in Brazil or somewhere in Europe, and you're like, yo, calling the truck guy, yo, man, come on, yo, hold on, stop, let me show you, man, could we paint your truck, man, what's up? And so, the truck journey is really fun.
So they're not paid gigs? Or some are paid?
No, none of them are. No. This is just
out of
strictly
love.
for fun, out of love, because a lot of the truck guys, man, they're busting their ass 5-6 days a week, sometimes 7 days a week. They're well deserved. Yeah, sure, they're making some of the money, but it's to make ends meet. It's better. I feel better painting a truck than painting for a landlord. You know what I mean? Like, overall.
Yeah.
100%.
Wow, amazing. So let me ask you, do many of your peers listen to other artists? I get the impression that a lot of young artists want to do their own thing, and they don't want to get inspired by other artists.
Oh, good question. My era like coined it. We coined not listening to the older writers. We coined it. Like my generation was the one that was I'll tell my Cope 2 story, right? Where Cope 2, he starts arguing with this 16-year-old kid from my neighborhood. He's like going in, and it was like, and the kids, we're from the hood, we're from the Bronx, so we're like, man, nah, fuck that shit, you know what I mean? Like, you're not gonna tell us what to do or this and that. Like, so we kind of coined this thing, where it took a while for a lot of those writers to actually like really sink into the picking up from the older generations. I always I like to tell this Smack story because Smack used to live on the same block with Purr, same block as Purr. So Purr would paint that one corner, that corner spot that he had right around the corner. It had like is on Rosedale. You know what I'm talking about? Anyway, so Purr had a spot in the corner, and so he would paint a legal wall there. And so Smack, the guy who started ONT, pretty much would sometimes sit there, talk to him, but it was kind of like, he's in his world, I'm in my world. We're bombers, and so like that whole mentality, like how Cap had that mentality, like, I'm a bomb, 100 pieces, destroy. Yeah. That mentality was very prominent from my generation. So if a lot of the writers, it took a while for them. It took like I think it took really the gap of age, because like there's your era, where once you guys got to a certain age, I feel like that's when it was okay to like communicate. We started communicating with like the Task Crews of the world, and the Waynes of the world, and I think Sen too really helped with a little bit of this bridge because of that store, because a lot of the bombers were going there, and that's actually where I met some international writers like I like to Stick Up Girls. Ever Stick Up Girls, Stick Up Crew, Stick Up Girls, with Spice from Australia.
Oh yeah, no, Spice from Australia.
So like I like to meet her for the first time, and right now, this Stick Up Girls right now is like a brand new crew again with this younger generation of writers, like and like it took years for like this to actually happen, and so like the internet was there, but like the internet for us bombers, us writers, it was between us, and it was like 14, 15, 16-year-old kids. It wasn't like, communicating with the TKid of the world. Like, you never got hit. Did you get hit up by us? Be like, yo, man.
I didn't even know you existed. I didn't know who you was until I just saw you. I swear it up. I said, yo, Claude, do you know this guy Elsos? She said no. And then I realized this was a guy down in Miami, like, shaking my cans. So, what can I say? The good thing about me and my generation, man, we didn't give a fuck about anybody, man. We didn't. It's like I was in my world, man. Yeah. To me, nobody else existed. Yeah. And that's what it was. For me, it was bombing. But I bombed on trains, man, because for me, it was about that challenge. Yeah. And it's not about a generational war. Listen, man, it's progression, man. You guys do your thing. God bless you, man.
What are you talking about? Graffiti? Graffiti doesn't, eats its young. It's bad.
Not really.
I found that I was, I caught the tail end of mentorship, and that was probably because I was a woman, and they were like, oh, we got to look out for her. She's like a hot mess. But I've made it like my mission to sort of like bridge and like kind of help the young kids because nobody looks out for them.
Yeah, that video that you and Smith 17 have, huge impact for my generation. The movie. That scene where you guys are out bombing, fire, straight up fire. And then, we have, for my generation, we have MRS, Miss BX. And so, seeing her and Osby painting and, kind of also, kind of emulating this feeling.
Osby, is that the guy from Tough City? The tattoo guy?
Yeah.
Nice guy. I like him.
Really great. Really great
This
guy.
has worked for me for 3 years. So yeah, no, I mean it's better, but I feel like there needs to be more mentorship from the older generation. There does. We owe it to the kids.
100%. I agree with this because I see it. I see where it's like it's a thing now. Like the Phase 2 story where he goes to Italy. Phase 2 goes to Italy, and pretty much he's he's like in a borderline in academic world as well, talking about writers and saying, yo, we don't use the G word. Yo, I was just in Europe, and I was in watching these academic panel talks where they're talking about culture from here, from pretty much graph and public art and street art and graffiti versus the word style writing, or it's bugged out.
That's a big topic in Europe. It really is.
Yeah, huge.
And the amazing part of that is that Europe is like the only country that really is open to the word graffiti. And I understand because Phase 2, he's always said, I'm a spray can artist. Me, I'm like you. I was rebellious. I'm like, F that. I'm a graffiti writer. I'm a writer. I write my name. That's what it is. It's vandalism. But I come to understand that to break through the world, you have to bend. You have to understand that, to accept this culture, because this is a culture that we're all part of, to accept this culture, you have to bend with what's going on, with what society will accept. They say to beat the system, you got to be part of the system. So to be part of this system, we got to infiltrate by saying, we're street artists. We're graffiti artists. We're spray can artists, to be accepted. And once we got accepted now, like with me, I do strictly graffiti. Not many artists are successful doing letters and selling canvases with letters. Not many, but I am. Why? Because I always said graffiti was an art. And that's the big argument. What is art? And it's always been an argument. Graffiti is pure expression. It's not perfect. It's imperfect, and that's what makes it unique. It's a thing that was created by kids for kids. The rebellion you are today is the energy that we all had when this started. I grew up in the 70s down the block over here on Boone Avenue, okay? There was no programs. There was no after school. There was none of that. There was this new thing called free lunch, where they gave you bologna sandwiches and a juice, in the park. You know what I'm saying? Nothing but drugs, heroin, people ODing. That's what I saw. And I was able to use this to escape that environment. I myself suffered from addiction. I'm an addict. I just don't use drugs today. I don't drink. I don't do none of that stuff. But you know what? I still do this thing. I still write. Why? Because it's who I am. It's because it's what brought me out of 1025 Boynton Avenue. It opened the world up to me. I went to my first job in Europe in 1986 to paint a mural for TDK cassettes.
One of my favorites.
Okay? And you heard of me. You say you never heard of me. Look at this guy. Look at it.
One of my favorites.
TDK cassettes. D Business, the new D cassette. And in that process, I met a kid named Mo 2. You know who Mo 2 is?
Of course.
Mo 2 is one of the most prolific graffiti artists that there is. I taught him letters. Okay? So that was 1986. Wayne, when did you go to Europe? 91.
Yes.
91.
But he
No.
And when did John?
But then I went to Berlin. And what happened to Berlin? That became TKid Lynn.
What John was there. John was there.
John 1. Now let's talk about John
Just
1.
real quick,
So
because
John 1 and my protege, Rack 7, started the 156 crew.
Yes.
Rack 7 was my best friend's little brother. He was that little kid, like you, that didn't listen. We used to tell him, he used to be, yo, I want to go with you to the ghost yard. I want a penguin. We were like, get out of here, man. We used to treat him like that. That's what big kids did to little kids back then,
100%. That's the type
But
of mentorship.
he followed us.
But that's the type of mentorship.
Yeah,
though,
exactly.
From
But
the
he
old
followed us. He followed us into the yard. And once he was in the yard, man, you had to see this kid. He went off.
Oh, yeah.
And he became Rack 7, man. And it was fucking amazing. And him and John 1. 1 ended up going to Europe with Toxic. John 1 ended up going to Europe with Toxic. What's or two? And what the guy that died? Damn. A1. A1.
Yeah, it was
And A1 was the man, believe it or not. I remember seeing A1 stuff, because we used to paint the Hall of Fame back in the days when it was really the Hall of Fame. It was illegal in the middle of the night. And I remember A1 doing this. You couldn't read it, right? But it was dope. And he took that to Europe, to France, with John 1 and them, And they became these mega artists, man. I mean, right now, John 1, he's the man. He is the king of Paris when it comes to making money, when it comes to selling art. And what does he do? His tag, his bombing. Repeatedly. Simple stuff. I went to his studio. I watched him. I was like, damn, kid. He do that 1, 2, 3. His knees all hurting and stuff. He gets on the floor. He starts throwing paint down. And to watch that. And me, I started before him. And look where he is at. Listen.
Amazing guy.
This is amazing, man.
So we're going to add the last question, guys.
Oh, okay.
And if the inspiration point allows us to stay a little longer, we'll open up for some
I gotta
questions
pick up my
if y'all
mother.
want. So the last question, Boone Avenue Walls is coming up. They're the host of this talk. Tell us what inspires you to paint at the Boone Avenue Walls. Each of you. Oh, so first.
Want me to start? Well, what inspired me was really that meeting styles, that first meeting styles that happened here in the Bronx.
Yeah.
That was I didn't know what, I thought there was some type of correlation to it. I wasn't sure because I lived nearby, and so I would come and I would see, new pieces, and I didn't realize that there was, what was happening, that WEN was running it. I didn't know until I bumped into them painting. And during the time, I still wasn't doing pieces. I kind of like, my friend was trying like, hey man, we should do pieces. And, I kind of got into it. And then during the time, like maybe a year, 2 years later, then I bumped into WEN. Man, what year is this, man? It's like 2016, 2017, 2017, yeah. And and so I bumped into him, and I was like, man, I would love to paint a piece here, man. And he was like, oh, just stick around. And so I didn't paint that year, but I painted the following year. I stuck around, and then I went to go do my thing, and then the following year I pulled up, and he was like, yo, you could paint across in the corrugated, with this one guy named Giggs, and we rocked the piece, and that was it. Then
every year.
We're still
Keep going.
We're still going.
All right, Club Money.
I'm really excited to paint Boone Avenue. I do a lot of commercial work all over the 5 boroughs, but I live in the Bronx for the last 22 years, and I like to do community stuff. And I used to do crew wall with my crews,
Yeah.
TC5 and FC, and now I do my crew, PMS, so I get a
Okay.
wall of girls out there,
Yeah.
women, and we have a 4-woman wall this year, and it's exciting.
Oh, great.
Can my
And
wife
you
paint me a
TKid?
crew?
Is she good?
Oh, she's dope. She knows how to paint.
And you TKid?
What inspires me?
Oh,
You know what inspires me, man?
you're home, technically.
Basically, yeah, Vice Avenue, my aunt lived there, man. I could tell you stories, man.
Man, that story
You
that
know-
you sold us over there in Miami was crazy.
Oh, man.
Oh, that was bugged out.
Yeah, jumping on that abandoned U-Haul with a dead body in it, man. That was crazy, man. That's Vice Avenue, man. I got to paint there last year, and it was amazing. I remember going through that and reliving that moment. But what inspired, what inspired me about Boone Walls, or any event really that goes down is the chance to get with these new guys and see what
Okay.
they're doing. Because see, unlike the old school guys, I always keep an open mind, and I'm always trying to learn. And that's who I learn from, the new guys, because they teach me, They teach me, and in order to grow with this, I'm going to be 64 years old. I'm an old man. Jesus Christ, man. I'm an old man. And I'm still doing this. Okay? Yeah, no, man. Listen. But I painted a freaking train 2 weeks ago. I painted 2 trains.
Wow.
And these trains weren't little. You know? Why do I still do this?
Yeah.
Because guys like El Souls are still here. People like Claw Money still inspiring me, man.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
I mean, this is who I am. This is what got me out of out of 1025 Boynton Avenue. You know, this is why I'm not on drugs today. This is because of graffiti is why I met my wife. I got a beautiful home, you know. I mean, it's amazing, man. This is a journey, man. And until I stop breathing, I'm going to keep following this journey, man. Because this journey is real, you know, and this is something that's just part of me. It's in my blood, man. You know, and, you know, I'm going to do what I can. Sometimes I do good, sometimes I don't. You never know. Like they say, you never know what you're getting with TKid, you know, but you're getting something.
You get something?
You're definitely getting something.
All right. Nah, beautiful, beautiful. Okay, guys.
You want to tell our TKid story? Want me to tell my TKid story?
Go ahead, tell your
Can I tell
TKid
my
story.
TKid?
All right.
All right. So we're in Miami. I'm excited.
Wait, let me give you the music.
All right, so really dope wall that you did out there, though.
Thank you, man.
First and foremost, that shit was dope. That was dope. I was very excited. So I was supposed to leave, but Kat was like, "Yo, stick around. I may have a job for you," and I was like, "Okay." So I stuck around for one more week, and then you pulled up. I heard you was pulling up. I was like, "Oh fuck yeah, fuck the Bronx, bro! Like TKid is like one of my fucking heroes from the Bronx." Yay! Woo! I'm like, fuck, dope. And pretty much I had 2 cans around TKid, and I put it on his table, and that's pretty much my TKid story. TKid was like, "Don't put your pin right here. Where's my can? Where's my can?"
I thought, see, I didn't know who he was, and I thought he was just trying to steal paint. I was like, dude, why don't you wait till I'm finished, man? I might need that color. But you know, that honestly, that's just the old man in me. Okay, let's just be real. That's just the old man in me, man.
Hey, my Bronx guy, I stood up for my own, right? I
listen, my man, I love this kid, man. Not for nothing, man.
Okay, I feel you.
This is why I keep going, man.
All right.
You know, this is why I keep going, because guys like this.
Any questions from
awesome.
the audience? Yeah. Do we have a mic in the back? But first, let me see. I don't see any hands. It's kind of dark.
We could share mics.
We'll share the mics, but
Yo.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
so, okay. Any questions in the audience? If not, we can thank the audience. Oh, right there in the back.
Show a hand.
Yeah, go right ahead.
Are you guys still tagging black books?
Yes.
Sadly, yes.
It's part of the culture.
Okay, another one in the back? Okay.
How big is TMB right now? Like, how many members in what countries is it from? Because I meet a lot of people, and I see them pushing TMB, or they must be connected to
TMB is a worldwide crew, man. I mean, I got everything. I got burners, guys that do burners. I got guys that bomb, you know, guys that tag. And I mean, like all of Europe, almost every country in Europe, I have a member or so. You know, here in the United States, as far as Chicago, you know, Australia, I have a couple of guys out there. You know, the UK, it's a worldwide crew. I mean, right now that I know of, there's about 213 the last time I counted.
Wow.
You know, and that was a couple of years ago. You know, and these guys are still active. Yeah, I put them all down. They have to, there's an initiation fee, not a fee, initiation process, excuse me, where they actually have to go either do something crazy and bomb if you're a tagger, you know. If you're a piecer, you have to do a train. Like I just had a couple of guys out in the Netherlands ask me they want to be down with TMB. I said, really, right now the crew is closed, but guess what? If y'all do a dope train and send me the pictures, I'll talk to it with the other guys and we'll see what's up.
Nice. Go ahead. Sure.
Do you write? And what made you get into the writing? As far as this whole
Oh, great question. Well, I do not write. I write books, but I don't write graffiti. And how I got into it is Okay, it's kind of like a long and short story. I'll just say I was a messenger for like 24 years in New York, and a lot of my coworkers were graffiti writers. And one of my coworkers was Carl Weston, and he had a video series called Videograph, right? And he would take me over to Henry Chalfant's house, right? But I was writing poetry at the time. Really wasn't documenting graffiti like I am now. But about 10 years ago, I met Phase 2, took a liking to me because he saw I was making books and I was really doing good in urban culture, documenting it. And he thought, like, yo, you could probably work with me. So he kind of started teaching me about it and not to be scared of graffiti, you know, in a sense, and just hung out with him for a long time. And then 7 years ago, I had an opportunity to photograph the Graffiti Hall of Fame, right, through James Top. And I was like, yo, that's dope. I brought 3 cameras. And I just went crazy shooting the Graffiti Hall of Fame, and I made a book. And 7 years later, I'm into it like five books deep and really enjoying, loving the culture. And that's kind of like my story as a photographer. Yeah, thank you. Any more questions? Yeah. Is that it? Oh, well.
I wanted to ask if you guys ever thought about sending a message with your art, and I feel like I see a lot of hidden meanings within a lot of the pieces that you guys do, and I just want to ask more of your thoughts on what you guys put into.
If I may, he was saying, and I've said it before too, man. Graffiti is the only art form that crosses all barriers, whether it be age, sex, religion, money, status, whatever, culture. Graffiti crosses everything. It's the ultimate form of communication, and a lot of us artists do express ourselves, especially when it comes to what's going on in the world, to our environment. If you really look into some of the pieces, you see what's really going on, and it's always about sending a message. Like when I was speaking before, my car started telling a story, it started telling a story, and the story, what was going on in my environment at that time, and to see it later on become this ultimate communication tool, it's really amazing. And that's a really good question and stuff, and I'm pretty sure some of my colleagues here have something to say about it.
Well, I used to write in my claws. Now you see the claws, they're like blank. But they used to say stuff inside. Whatever it was that I was feeling. Sassy, sexy, angry, honey, whatever. I was always using it as a way to communicate. And people would figure out that I was written by the things that I would write inside, I think. Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah, for me, it's different. It's different reasons, different things I would do to send different messages. At first, in the beginning, I wasn't thinking about any messages. I was just writing, and that my partner, Mur, was the one who was like, "Yo, man, let's do some political pieces together." They had like a moment with I forgot what year it was. I think it was 2014, and there was like these protests with the police or something, and we did like an NYPD on the NY instead of NYPD, but it's like NYPD, So we kind of we did that on the High Line, and we did bills and stuff, not on the same spot, but across the High Line, just different spots. And what got painted over was this one thing. So this one political thing was like, oh no, we'll leave the graph, but we'll take out this one political thing. It's crazy to me, but so yes, and I feel a little bit like this also with pieces. So like I don't know how they feel with what you put in your pieces, but like your arrows or like your extensions, stuff like this. I feel like it's also other ways to communicate through the letters.
And like feeling.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the vibe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good question, man.
Cool. One more? Yeah.
Coach TDS. I'm sitting here listening to you guys, and I'm just taking everything in. And when I heard you, TKid, say about the drugs and all that, I didn't know that about you in the background. And I can remember, a lot of guys that know me, I did a lot of graffiti back in the 80s and trains. And I stopped doing that for many years. While you guys were going to Europe and doing this, I got into drugs, playing with guns and going to prison, jails. I suffered for like 30 years. 10 years ago, I turned it around, got myself clean, and Joey TDS was the one who told me, yo, Close, why you don't get back into graffiti? And I'm glad that I got back into it because I found that shit very therapeutic in my life. And it's 10 years counting, and it's counting, and I'm doing a lot of things now. I'm curating shows, I'm doing exhibits, I'm traveling the world, and just to promote this right now, we're doing a short what we call college. I know TKid's gonna be there, Kurt Boone's gonna be there, but July 31st, me and my significant, beautiful baby right here are curating that show. So that'll be July 31st, what do you call college. Thank you.
All right.
She's sending you
Thanks all you guys
that
for coming. Let's give the artists a hand. It was a great experience. I hope everybody learned a lot and pump you up to be ready for the festival coming up in August. And I sure enjoyed it. So thank you so much for doing this. August.
Thank you. Thank you.
Is the next one. We're hosting King B and BG 183, and they're going to be talking about murals in the Bronx. So that's going to be another one. All right, and then after that, Wayne is August.
Wayne. Woo woo.
Wayne, you got shout out today, man.
August 19th.
He's cheesing back there. He's cheesing.
Wayne and Win, COD.
He's cheesing hard. I can
Curated
feel it. I
Festival.
can hear it.
So I hope to see all you guys back. This is being recorded, so you're going to be able to see it on YouTube in a couple of weeks. Thank you so much, and thanks again, Inspiration
All right.
Point, Daniel.
Thank you.
It's been
Thank you.
a pleasure.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.